Hello, hello, and welcome back to another installment of Advance Your Wealth with Homer Smith. I'm your host and moderator, Ryan Ruff. Of course, we've got Homer standing by. He'll be joining me momentarily. But look, first and foremost, we want to take a quick moment to say thank you to our audience, of course, for jumping aboard today's episode, whether that be live with us on Facebook on the live stream or even after the fact through a podcasting platform or video platform. All the same, we appreciate you guys supporting the show and jumping aboard with us for today's conversation. Now, in that same vein, if you are joining us on the Facebook live stream today, please take a minute, drop a comment or a question below as we're going through our conversation today. You know, Homer and I are going to be unpacking a cool conversation surrounding charitable giving today. And if there are any questions that jump up from you guys, we'd love to, see them here. So drop a comment beneath the video player there. Homer and I will carve out some time towards the end of the episode to address those questions, comments, and concerns. But before we bring Homer out, also I want to give you a little update as to what we're going to be chatting about today. You know, as you've probably heard in prior conversations, Homer incorporates a lot of charitable giving into the overall wealth plans that he builds with his clients. You know, charitable giving can be beneficial in countless different ways, and we're going to kind of be going through really a charitable planning primer, some of these strategies that Homer relays to his clients on a regular basis. That's really going to be the basis of our conversation today. And as you know, we've talked about charitable giving, we've talked about how it has a place within wealth planning as a whole, but today we're really diving deep into just this topic. So that being said, let's go ahead and bring Homer out to get today's conversation rocking and rolling. Homer, how are you doing today? Good to see you this afternoon.
I'm well. Likewise, Ryan.
Yeah, always good when we get together and get to kick off a conversation. And today, we're going to be focused on charitable giving. So Homer, to get our conversation started on the right foot, walk me through a little bit of just this idea of charitable giving. Is this a topic that you find in your dealings with clients that, or maybe even prospective clients at that they're asking you about? Do you find that they're often like ahead of the curve on this and, proactive and asking you about some of these things?
Charitable giving is definitely a big topic of our client base, and and not just our client base, but I think the world in general is becoming a bigger and bigger topic for affluent individuals. We look at Steve Jobs, who always talked about making a dent in the universe, and what we know from working with our clients, it's one of the top 5 key money concerns that they have around charitable giving, and they're looking for how do they get started. How do they optimize that plan? How do they do better with what they're currently doing today? And what we know, even from surveys of very successful business owners, over 70% of them are looking to build their wealth so they can have a more meaningful impact on the charities and organizations they care about the most. So it definitely is an important topic that our top clients are thinking about.
So Homer, then in that same vein, how does wealth planning ultimately fit into this desire for the affluent to give back to an organization or a cause that they support? Where does wealth planning as a whole fall into this idea of charitable intent?
Yeah, I think like most things in life, the best laid plans lead to the best outcomes, and charitable giving is no different. So, sometimes charitable giving can be a very simple, just writing some checks type of a strategy. But if you're going to get into the more complex charitable giving strategies where you're making large lifetime bequests, it gets pretty complicated. And so you need to take into account your entire wealth picture and all of the things you have going on to make sure you're doing the right thing. And so you need to think about the tax planning that's going to be involved, the estate planning components of it. How are things organized? How is the business structure taken into account if gifting is going to get involved? So really, to get the best results, you need to look at it from a holistic point of view. And oftentimes the solutions are going to involve pretty complex tax or legal structures and pretty complex financial solutions. So again, taking into account your entire picture really is necessary as part of that.
So Homer, I think anybody that's watching or listening to us right now and they're thinking, okay, sure, I've actually got some causes that I'm interested in my own. I've got maybe some change that I'd be willing to donate and to, help make an impact on. That's great. There's the first step, really. But then, given all the complexities that you just mentioned, what should be somebody's first step in trying to take that, initiative head on and really utilize this as a strategy, in their wealth plan, but also, as an effective means of giving back to something that they care about?
Yeah, great question. I mean, philanthropy can really take a number of forms, and there's many ways to accomplish the charitable giving efforts that you might have. And so, in general, charitable gifts provide a lot of benefits. It can provide ongoing financial benefits to you on top of the tax deductions that you get for it. So, these components were specifically put into the tax code to encourage some of this charitable giving. So, really, our role is helping really understand the goals of our client and how charitable giving fits in, and then helping them understand the landscape that's out there for charitable giving and all of the options that'll be available to them, and really helping them match up the strategies that are available with their intent.
Roger that. So, Homer, I'd love to kind of take a deeper dive into all of this now and explore some of these foundational methods of planned charitable giving. So, when you're meeting with your clients and you're going through this process and talking about some of these methods, what do they look like and how do you go about that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, charitable giving, it really is dependent on their goals, as we spoke to earlier. And so, oftentimes, they might want to have some complex strategies right off the bat. They've got some big goals that they want to accomplish, and we need to roll up the sleeves and start bringing in the big guns right off the bat. But a lot of times, it could be as simple as just making a bequest through your will. So you have a charity or multiple charities that you really want to support, and you can simply name them in your will with a specific dollar amount, and your executor at your passing will make sure through the probate process that those charities are taken care of. And there's lots of benefits to that kind of giving. Number one, it's really flexible, so you can change that situation at any point while you're still living, and you're not giving up control and use of those assets until you're passing as well. So it's a really flexible way to get started, very simple and very easy to execute.
Gotcha. Okay, now let's take it a step further. Aside from that foundational approach to this process, are there any next level strategies that you might have in your conversations with clients that do want to take that next step and maybe dip deeper into the charitable giving process?
I think for clients who are looking at and individuals who are looking at wanting to make some more ongoing gifts, so prior to death, as well as if they're running into some significant income tax problems, one of the most popular vehicles we're seeing gain a lot of traction right now is donor advised funds. And donor advised funds themselves are technically a charitable organization. It allows for you to take the entire charitable deduction when you gift into the donor advised fund. Your funds are then invested in pooled investments like mutual funds and diversified. And then you get the timing over time to be able to dole out those gifts to the charities that you intend. So you might be in a situation from a tax perspective where you want to make a significant gift now for the tax benefits of it, but you're not 100% sure all of the charities you want to benefit and how much at one time. So the donor advised fund provides that flexibility where you can get all of that gift in at one time, get all of the tax benefits for it, and then have time to figure out exactly how you want to spread out those gifts to the charities over time.
Got it. So I hear you on the donor advised funds, Homer. So let's take it even a step further beyond that to maybe even a higher level of charitable giving or a more advanced option. Is there any options for these types of individuals that really are approaching this true philanthropist status, if you will? Anything like on the trust end of things, anything like that?
Yeah, I think there's a number of trust structures that you could employ for charitable giving as well as private foundations. So, on the trust structure, charitable trust structure, there's two ones that are the most common. The first one is a charitable remainder trust, and that's where you make a gift to the charitable trust and you receive an income benefit back from that trust for your lifetime or for a specified period of time. And at the end of that period, the charity gets the remainder gift of that trust. On the flip side, a charitable lead trust is kind of the opposite. So you make the gift to the trust, and the charity receives an income benefit for your lifetime or for a specified period of time, and then you receive the remainder benefit back, or your state does, or your heirs do. And so those are becoming, very common, very popular structures for providing charitable giving. And then finally, to move even further up the complexity ladder, and one that a lot of people look into, is doing a private foundation. And a private foundation, it adds a lot of complexity, a lot of regulations to it when you do it. And it's typically one family or one individual who wants to make significant charitable gifts to multiple organizations over time. You can create a structure through the private foundation, and there are requirements around it. So it's similar to a donor advised fund where you can spread out the timing of the gifts. but you typically have a requirement of a minimum of 5% of the value of the private foundation must be given out to charities each year. So those are some more of the complex structures that we can put into place.
Got it. Well, Homer, we've thrown a ton at our audience in terms of these different strategies that are in place for charitable giving. So let's say somebody's in the audience here, they like these different options that they're hearing from you, but they want to take that first step and kind of just get some further guidance on this process. Who should they turn to for some of these conversations to get that ball rolling?
I think that really depends on the level of complexity they're looking to put into their charitable giving. So, if they're looking at simply doing some bequests through their will, they might be able to simply do that on their own. Although I wouldn't recommend that. We've oftentimes seen mistakes made, but at the very least, involving a good estate attorney will be able to accomplish that first level of planned giving. As you move up the complexity curve, as you move into the donor advised fund, as you move into some of the charitable trusts and private foundations, I think it's really important that you bring in some top wealth managers who have a lot of experience in the charitable giving space. There's also a lot of trust and estates attorneys and CPAs. Make sure you don't make mistakes or miss opportunities to really optimize the giving that you're doing.
Sure. So Homer, let me ask you this then. What do you say is, or what do you believe really is the most important aspect of charitable planning that you want your clients to not really forget about, to make sure they keep in mind when they're going through this process and they want to give back? Is there an aspect that always jumps to the top of your mind that you always say, hey, now don't forget about this as we go through everything together?
Yeah, I think when it comes to philanthropy, the charitable intent really has to come first. While charitable gifts can produce substantial financial and tax benefits, if giving to the charity is not really the most important concern, there's other vehicles, other strategies that we can put in place that are more likely to better accomplish the goal of simply reducing taxes, is what you're focused on. But if you really are focused on the charity, putting some of these structures in place, focusing on some of these causes that are dear to you, charitable giving, making bequests, these are things that can truly make a difference in the world and for these causes that you care about. So, but really it has to be about the charity, about the organization that you want to be focused on.
I hear you there, Homer. And Homer, from a personal standpoint, in your dealings with clients and what these conversations look like, how does it feel? Like, what does that look like from the client's perspective to be able to know that they can not they can get two benefits with one strategy. They get to help the organization or the cause that they want to support, and they can, utilize and harvest those tax mitigation strategies through this charitable giving. What's it like for the individual that's going through that process, for the client, in terms of just I guess a pure satisfaction standpoint, really?
Yeah, it's a really big deal, and partly because as we mentioned in one of the first questions, a lot of our clients have a large charitable intent and they're looking to build their wealth so that they can make a bigger dent on the world, with that. But a lot of times they're worried about doing it and not being able to achieve their own personal goals. Are they going to be okay? Are their family going to be okay first? And the beauty of charitable giving, if done right with the right structures, we can actually solve a lot of these goals with combining charitable giving into it. We can take care of some of their retirement needs. We can take care of a lot of their estate planning needs, and we can even take care of some of their asset protection needs and tax planning needs. And so involving charitable giving and looking at it, again, from that holistic approach is really able to solve for multiple goals. And then to your point, because they have that intent and they're really wanting to make that difference in the world, once they're able to accomplish that, knowing they're going to be okay, it's that feeling of not just relief of knowing that they're able to be okay themselves, but really the sense of accomplishment that they're going to be able to take care of causes that are really important to them, groups, organizations that have done meaningful things in their lives or the lives of their children or their parents, and now they're able to provide meaningful support to them. It's a big deal to them.
Yeah, I can only imagine that overwhelming sense of satisfaction on so many different levels when going through a process like this. And despite the complexities that may be involved, there are resources available for help. That seems to be a recurring theme on this show. Is yes, while Homer and I, while we dive into these complex strategies that are surrounding wealth planning, there's help, there's assistance, there's true professionals right around the corner that are able to lend a helping hand. So speaking of which, Homer, if somebody's hearing our conversation today and they're interested in looking you guys up and, pursuing a conversation with you and your team, how should they best go about reaching you?
Yeah, the easiest is our website is convergentwealth.com, or you can email me directly, homer@convergentwealth.com. We're definitely here to be able to help you take that holistic view of your overall picture, bring a virtual family office approach where we're able to take the best ideas from all across the globe really now and make sure that you're getting the most sophisticated, best solutions that are going to help you achieve your goals. So happy to talk to anybody who's interested in that.
Alrighty. Well, Homer, I really appreciate you carving out some time out of your busy day to jump on and talk charitable giving with us. And I have a feeling that we just might not be done with this topic, and we'll be, bringing up charitable intent in episodes to come.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, and look, we want to take one final moment here to say thank you to our audience for jumping aboard today's show. If you liked what you saw, you liked what you heard, please feel free to comment on the show, subscribe to it on whichever platform you're checking us out on, and then, of course, share this information with friends and family. At the end of the day, these conversations are meant for you. They're meant to provide those insights into Homer's world of wealth planning, and we've got a lot of great conversations teed up for you that we would hate to have you guys miss out on down the road. So for Homer Smith, I'm Ryan Ruff. We're saying so long today, and we thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Advance Your Wealth.